If you're thinking of visiting Ireland anytime in the near future, take my advice. Make sure you pack your stab vest. Well, it's been another action-packed weekend here in Ireland, especially in Dublin. No, I'm not talking about the international rugby. I'm not talking about the Super Bowl. I'm talking about action-packed for all the wrong reasons and all the wrong kind of action. We had another stabbing event where a man went berserk, as it turns out, from Brazil. South American man from Brazil went berserk with a knife and started stabbing random people in a suburb of Dublin called Stoneybatter. He went on the rampage on Sunday afternoon, managing to stab multiple people, including people in their own homes. Multiple people were attacked and 3 people were hospitalised. Word quickly spread, as word always does, on social media about the attacks and the fact that a South American man, as it turns out a Brazilian man, was the perpetrator. This, as you can no doubt imagine, is the absolute last thing the powers that be, the open borders government that we have, wanted to hear, although they're hearing it with increasing frequency. Our newly minted Minister for Justice, Jim O'Callaghan, was quick to come out and say this is a terrible but random attack. How he knew this was a random attack before any investigations had taken place is a mystery to us all. Perhaps our newly minted Minister for Justice has a direct line to the Oracle of Delphi. Perhaps he has Madam X on speed dial, or some have alleged he has his own private crystal ball in his living room. Whether any or all or none of that is true, it doesn't really matter, because he was quick out of the gates to immediately allay the public suspicions that this could be any kind of a terroristic situation. No, nothing to fear here. It's just a random foreign Brazilian man going berserk with a knife, knocking on people's doors and stabbing whoever he came across. Nothing to see here. Everybody calm down. Of course, all the local TDs, members of Parliament, were quickly out in force to condemn and to commiserate about this awful, awful attack. I was particularly taken by the thoughts of local TD for the loony Labour Party, Marie Sherlock, who had this to say on the radio.
Talking to the Gardaí, there seems to be an awful case here of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, that this was a random attack.
The wrong place at the wrong time, you say? Oh, where were you when you got stabbed? Oh, were you walking through the streets of Kabul late at night with no escort? No. Were you in the Congo? Maybe in Kinshasa after the pubs closed on a Saturday evening? No. I was just standing at my own front door in my own home in Stoneybatter on a lazy Sunday afternoon. Standing at your own front door in Stoneybatter in the middle of Dublin in modern Ireland, you fool! What did you think was going to happen? No wonder you were stabbed. But now a quick word from our sponsor, Board Faulty, the Irish Tourist Board, and their latest unveiling of the new tourist video welcoming people to Ireland next summer. You sure they sent us the right video? Anyway, getting back to the random attack. Well, what do we know of this man, the perpetrator, this absolute scumbag? Well, we know that he's a Brazilian man. But as the Minister for Justice, our newly minted Minister for Justice, assured us, he was unknown to the Gardaí. But wait a minute, what's this?
I think I can smell shite.
Some days I just despair. Not only was he known to the Gardaí, he'd been arrested for possession of drugs, and he was currently out on bail. It seems this man had come to Ireland from Brazil under some auspices or other in 2022, and he was now living down and out. He had no job, he had no course. He was essentially living as a vagrant, as a tramp, on the streets of Dublin. What I would like to know is simply this: on what basis was this man here in the first place, and on what basis was he allowed to remain here when he was unemployed, he wasn't in any systems, he was just homeless and on the streets of Dublin? And when he'd been caught by the Gardaí in possession of drugs, an amount of drugs that was quite obviously for sale or supply, and detained, Why was he out on bail? Why wasn't he immediately put on a plane and sent back to sender? I would have thought it was absolutely obvious and clear as day to anyone with an intelligence quotient above room temperature that this man was no use. He was destitute and he had somehow managed to come into the possession of drugs. When they let him out of custody, what did they think he was going to do? What did they think he was going to get involved with? At the very least, it was going to be petty crime. Or worse. And we now know the result. It was worse. Yet another glaring example of what you and I both know. Our government doesn't give a damn who comes here, from where, and they don't give a damn who is here, or from where, or what kind of characters they are. But of course, all the main political leaders were tripping over themselves to offer thoughts and prayers for the victims. Actually, no. No, that's a lie. They weren't. I was thinking of the old Ireland there. In fact, our dear leaders were out offering just thoughts. Micheál Martin was straight out of the gates to offer, "Our thoughts are with the victims of the shocking attacks in Stoneybatter earlier today." Taoiseach Simon the T-Boy Harris said, "Thinking of the community of Stoneybatter this evening, and thinking most particularly of those who were violently attacked and of their families." More thoughts there from Simon the T-Boy. Not wanting to be left out of this political thought fest, Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald issued a tweet. "Terrible news from Stoneybatter this afternoon. My thoughts are with those injured and their family." Yes, thoughts, and more bloody thoughts. Until yesterday, it seems, we had a very warm and loving expression of sympathy for people who had suffered in many ways. And it was thoughts and prayers with the victims, thoughts and prayers with the family, thoughts and prayers with the people affected. That was just you didn't have to be religious to get that. You didn't have to be religious to understand. And everybody understood exactly what that sentiment, what that phrase meant. But just as much as these random stabbings, which are going on seemingly every other day here now, just as much as that is becoming a feature of the new Ireland, so is bullshit generic expressions like this. Thoughts. Thoughts? What bloody thoughts? Happy thoughts? Sad thoughts? Vacant thoughts? Thoughts about what am I having for dinner today? Did I leave the immersion on? Thoughts, my arse. Means nothing. It's cold, it's heartless. It's just like modern Ireland. Cold, heartless, devoid of feeling, devoid of empathy, devoid of soul. Yes, Ireland used to be a place with a unique heart and soul. And as you can see from all these generic wallpaper paste beige jobby tweets, well, we've lost all that. We've lost all that, and all we've gained in its place is a whole raft of new social issues and violence, like what we saw in Stoneybatter at the weekend. And I refuse point blank to get acclimatized to this. I refuse to accept that this is normal. I refuse to accept that this is Ireland. I refuse. I point blank refuse. It's not. It never was. And by some manner or means, it's going to have to be unwound and turned back. And yes, I know in these dark days, it's very easy to become disconcerted, disheartened, and to think all is lost, and to think we can never find our way back. But let me leave you with this. It's an uplifting part of the video, and it's this kind of thing that actually gives me a ray of hope. Here's one of the brave victims on the day after he was attacked. Viewer discretion is advised. As you can see, this man is lucky to be alive. But here he is again a mere few hours later, already stitched up, back on his feet, and out in the pub having Sunday night pints. A true Irish hero if ever there was one. And as true an indication as you could ever hope to find that the indomitable spirit of the Irish man is by no means dead, is very much alive. Sláinte.